Hello and welcome. We'll get started in just a moment. Okay, I do not have to call this meeting to order because it was called to order at 5 p.m. Tonight for the purpose of going into executive session. That executive session was to evaluate the qualifications of a public employee and to discuss legal counsel on potential litigation. We are now coming back, returning to public session after that executive session. We'll move on to our land acknowledgement. Director Jackson.
Thank you. We live, work, and gather on Indigenous land. This is the land of the Snohomish people, the people of the Coast Salish tribes, speakers of the Lushootseed language family. We acknowledge the land in part because the human presence and cultural and spiritual and physical stewardship of this land and these waters have created the place and the ecosystems and the systems with which we live today. The people of the Snohomish and Coast Salish, Lower Skagit, Stillaguamish, Suquamish tribes, and other tribes have contributed greatly and continue to contribute greatly to society and all that is present here today. And beyond this region, there have been incredible contributions to arts, science, literature, commerce, government, culture from Indigenous people of North America and beyond. And I wanted to highlight one story that was brought to my attention by a community member. I'm currently working to get logged in to my account, and I'm struggling to get logged in. So it may be next time that I share this story, but it was brought to my attention by a community member this week that there was a dancer who was the prima ballerina of her dance company, which was a precedent-setting role for a Native American ballerina. And it's a compelling story that I'll share with Ms. Macaro to make available to the public if you're interested in reading that story. And that was a woman who was not Indigenous to our Pacific Northwest tribes, but was Indigenous Native North American. I also wanted to highlight something that was shared with me by a community member, and that is a book that is available for purchase about the geography. Would you, Ms. Davenport, if I bring the microphone, would you mind reading the title of that book aloud, the part that is in English?
Puget Sound Geography, original manuscript from T.T. Waterman. It is edited with additional material from Vi Hilbert, J. Miller, and Zalmay Zahir.
Thank you. So this book was brought to my attention as an educational resource. There are some photocopies available of pages from the book called Places on Whidbey Island with their names in Lushootseed and some description in English of those place names. And it's my understanding that our staff member, Mr. Peacock, is a Lushootseed language learner, and he might be willing, and I'm offering this without having checked first, he might be willing to counsel on pronunciations if you can find him at a free moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Jackson. Just as a reminder, this is a business meeting. We will have a public comment section. If you would like to participate in that, please speak to Ms. Macaro at the back, and you will have 5 minutes to address the board. You will generally not receive a response, but we will listen and take your words to heart. Are there any objections to approving the agenda and minutes as presented? Hearing none, the agenda and minutes are approved as presented. Normally we go under our consent agenda, but as this is our yearly reorganization meeting or organization meeting, we are shifting things up a little bit. Last year we decided that each year, whether we have new board members or not, we will each retake the oath of office to remind us why we're doing this. So Dr. Moshe, if you could lead us in that. There are printouts scattered around for those of you who are here.
Stand and raise your right hand.
I,
I,
Brooke
Joseph
Williford,
Green Heron,
Jackson.
Hereby solemnly swear
do hereby
hereby
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and
and the Constitution of the State of Washington, and will faithfully discharge the duties
of Director of South
Whidbey
Whidbey
School District Number 206, Island County, State of Washington, to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Dr. Moshe, for leading us in that. We now move on to our annual organizational meeting and the election of officers. These are the 5 roles on the board: board chair, board vice chair, policy director, WIA representative, and legislative representative, each of which come with specific duties. These are by nomination and voted acclaim. We will start with chair, so that if someone besides me takes over as chair, they may continue running these votes. There are requirements, the first of which is to ask for nominations 3 times. Are there any nominations for the role of board chair?
I nominate Director Brooke Williford.
I'll second.
Are there any other nominations for board chair? Are there any other nominations for board chair? We move on to a roll call vote. Director Jackson, how do you vote for board chair?
Director Brooke Williford.
Director Greenherron, how do you vote?
Director Williford.
Director Downs, how do you vote?
Director Brooke Williford.
I vote for myself as well. So I will continue doing this.
Do we need
Do an
advisory
advisory
votes?
vote from our
Oh.
student reps.
Thank you. Yes. That should come
Brooke
first.
Williford.
Thank you. I will start there first. Thank you for the reminder, both of you. And my apologies. We will move on to, and I don't have a specific order, so I'm just going to start with legislative rep. Do we have any nominations for legislative rep?
I nominate Director Jackson.
I'll second.
Okay, it has been nominated and seconded. Do we have any other nominations for legislative rep? Do we have any other nominations for legislative rep? Okay, advisory vote, please.
Director Jackson.
Director Jackson, how do you vote for legislative rep?
Director Jackson.
Director Greenherron,
Director Jackson.
Director Downs.
Director Jackson.
I also vote for Director Jackson. Congratulations, Director Jackson. You are our legislative rep again. I'm just going to start with the folks who are in the role and move this way again. So for our WIAA representative, do I have any nominations for this position?
I nominate Director Joe Greenherron.
I'll second.
Are there any other nominations for WIAA representative? Are there any other nominations for WIAA representative? Hearing none, we'll move on to the vote. Do we have an advisory vote?
Director Joe Greenherron.
Director Jackson, how do you vote for WIAA representative?
Director Greenherron.
Director Greenherron,
Director Greenherron.
Director Downs.
Director Greenherron.
I also vote for Director Greenherron. Congratulations. Thank you for continuing the work. I would go to Vice Chair, but Anne should be here shortly. Director Johnson should be here shortly, so I'm going to pause and turn to our policy. The person currently holding down the policy representative position. Do we have any nominations for policy representative?
I nominate Director Downs.
I second the nomination.
Are there any other nominations for policy representative? Are there any other nominations for policy representative? Hearing none, we'll move on to our advisory vote from our student representative.
Director Downs.
Okay. Director Jackson, how do you vote for policy representative?
Director Downs.
Director Greenherron?
Director Downs.
Director Downs.
Director Downs.
I also vote for Director Downs. Thank you for continuing your leadership in this position. I have spoken to Anne on this, and she is happy in the role as that she currently has. Just if anyone has any ideas of who they may want to nominate for this role. Are there any nominations for the role of vice chair?
I would nominate Director Johnson.
I'm sorry, you said Director Johnson?
Yes.
Oh, good. For some reason, I heard Jackson. I was like,
Oh.
what? I second the nomination of Director Johnson.
And as I said, I've spoken to Director Johnson and she is happy to continue that work. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, do we have an advisory vote on vice chair?
Director Johnson.
Director Jackson, how do you vote for vice chair?
Director Johnson.
Director Greenherron,
Director Johnson.
Director Downs.
Director Johnson.
I also vote for Director Johnson for vice chair. We have reaffirmed the organization of this board. Thank you very much for sticking with the specific requirements of that process. We will now move on to our consent agenda. Are there any objections to approving the consent agenda as presented? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved as presented. We'll now move on to public comments. Ms. McCarr, do we have anyone signed up to speak? As you're coming up and before you start, if you are on the Zoom call and would like to comment, please put your name and location in the chat so that if you would like to speak, just put your name and location and then start typing your comment just so that we know that you want to speak. Okay. Thank you. We're getting the timer going in just a moment.
Testing. Oh, there we go. All right. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to talk about last month's meeting. It followed a board meeting. It was technically a workshop, but not. I had sent in a comment. I actually sent in two. I'd like to think that maybe you didn't see it, but I'm pretty sure you guys did. And I have to base it off of past behaviors when other comments were sent in, you guys didn't read them. I understand this was a combined meeting at the time you were in your board meeting mode when I sent in the comment, but it could have easily been added to public comment later on if you wanted to include people's information and comments. It was a topic on the superintendent search. My comment was encouraging you to listen to the experts that you hired. They listed a couple potential concerns about including the current superintendent early on in the process. One of them was they were worried that you might not get as many candidates if they knew that she was involved or part of earlier part. And the second one, they may not be able to or feel like they can answer questions candidly. If you're looking for someone who just agrees and thinks the structure is great and want to continue it, we kind of need someone that's going to lead this district in a positive way. Jo said herself, unfortunately, at one of the meetings that she does not feel this place is a place for parents because this is a place you guys do your business. Our students is your business. You wouldn't be here if it weren't for our students. So I really, to this day, that just doesn't sit well with me. The Q&A, I know you guys started that so you could get public comment. I went to one, wasn't well attended. Again, the parents need to be here at the table in the discussion when we're discussing policy and concerns in our district. This is the place they need to be. One time I had asked one of the board members, Brooke, are you happy with the attendance? And he said, that's because people have confidence in us so they don't feel like they need to attend. I would want people to attend so they can partake and support, just like they support our athletes on the field. They should be supporting our students right here in the board meeting. In the very beginning, one of my first board meetings I attended, they kept saying, you're uninformed, you're uninformed. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here at least another probably 5 years. And in order to be informed, we need to be standing right here. That's the only way we can get informed. The last expert that came taught you how to talk and relate to people because you're showing them how to communicate. And they encouraged you to make them feel like it was worth their time coming. If you don't engage our comments and read our comments and listen to our comments, it's showing us it's really not worth our time. Marnie has said many times, thank you for coming. We appreciate you coming. I would rather her just say, listen to what I say, not just that I'm physically here. We really just need to be heard. And we need to see that in actions, not just in words. So I really encourage in the future, even if you don't like a comment or if it came at the quote unquote wrong timing, do your best to encourage and include the community input, because the search for a superintendent will be greatly affect our students, our kiddos, and our district. So I think it's really a matter that we don't need to be uniquely. We need to follow the process as it is. So that would be my encouragement to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for sharing your concerns about the superintendent search process and making sure that we make community members feel heard when they come to meetings and speak to us outside of meetings. Are there any other people signed up for public comment? I see no other comments online, so we will move on from that to our new business. The first item, the first two items on here are policies that we discussed in workshop at our last meeting that have just minor tweaks. The first one is Memorandum 2425-11, approval of the update to South Woodbury School District Policy 2005, School Improvement Plans, Program Development and Resources. This one is just, to my recollection, this is just changing parent to parent/guardian in this. Any comments or discussion to be had on this? Didn't think so. It's pretty standard part of our continuing attempts to update this. Representative McKnight, do you have an advisory vote on this memorandum?
Aye.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2425-11, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. The next item is approval, Memorandum 2425-12, approval of the update to South Woodbury School District Policy 6630, Driver Training and Responsibility Transportation. As I recall, this is just one where we had a his, her that we changed to their. Any comments or discussion on this item? Okay. Representative McKnight, do you have an advisory vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2425-12, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Thank you. Our third and last item of new business for tonight, Memorandum 2425-13, approval of the board letter of support to WIAA. I will turn to Director Greenherron as our WIAA representative, newly reelected, for a description of this.
Thank you. As WIA representative, I pay attention to what's going on statewide. And one trend right now is school boards elsewhere in the state sending letters to the WIAA against their current policy of allowing transgender students to participate in the sport league of their gender expression. That's the WIA's current policy. It's in line with state and federal law. And I thought it would be a great idea for them to hear both sides of the issue. And so I drafted a letter in support of the current policy, asking them not to change it, with a bit of data around the benefits of providing inclusive sport to student athletes, regardless of their gender or gender expression, so that everyone can participate and feel a sense of belonging in school sports.
Thank you. I'll note that this was in discussion and coordination with members of the administration.
Yes, thank you. I should have said that. Yes. I brought this up with, among others, our athletic director, the middle school and high school principals, and Dr. Moshe.
I just wanted to thank you for the initiative because I feel it ties deeply to our expressed desire to do more advocacy up and out to shape education at the state level, in addition to shaping the experiences of students here in South Woodbury. And so I feel like it is a very important issue. It affects student safety and student outcomes and students' capacity to be successful. And I think that you're really living into our values as a board and district. So thank you for taking this initiative.
I also second the thanks. And I'm wondering, Director Greenherron, if there is a way to invite other districts to also sign on to this in support and to show more of a collective action around that. And I don't want to delay you sending this letter, but I'm wondering if we might also share and invite others to sign along with us.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. I can pass it along to other WIA reps.
I think this is a really good letter here. It's like really good writing and stuff. And it's the exact kind of thing that just shows students that we're here for them. We're not working for some other groups. We're here for the students, trying to improve student outcomes. I think that's really valuable about this.
I very much appreciate that exact purpose behind it. I also appreciate the use of data and previous Supreme Court rulings to support the perspective of supporting the WIA position.
Just to add to this, I let Joe know earlier, one of the roles that I have is to be one of the superintendent advisors to the WIAA executive team. There are several of us across the state, and we get to provide input on various amendments that are proposed to WIAA by the various groups around the state. And we can say whether we support or oppose. And there are two currently proposed that are in the exact opposite of this letter. And so I will share our voice as opposing those amendments.
Thank you. I think that that's another valuable pathway to make the support known.
I personally would really like to sign on to this letter with the school board if the board chooses to send this letter.
I was also wondering if I would be able to sign on to this too, if that's legal.
Yeah, 100%. And Callahan, if she so desires as well.
So there could possibly be an amendment to this to suggest this with the addition of student representatives. And I thought you were on.
There's
you were
already a
on it,
signatory
yes.
line for the superintendent.
I also appreciate your heading on this draft.
I move to amend Memorandum 2425-12 to include Carter McKnight and Callahan Dogmeyer as signatories, the latter if she so desires.
We have an amendment. Do we have any discussion or debate on this amendment? Okay. Representative McKnight, do you have an advisory vote on this amendment?
Aye.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving this amendment to add our student representatives, should they so choose to participate, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The amendment passes. Is there any further discussion on the original?
Just
amended.
logistics, would you want us to send it out of the office? Or do you want to have wet signatures put on it or electronic? How would you like to do that?
I don't think it requires wet signatures, and I think it would benefit from the district letterhead.
Okay. Will do. And we'll send it around for your electronic signature and then mail it.
If it passes. We still haven't voted on it.
Oh,
Yeah,
excuse
we just
me.
had the amendment.
Pardon me.
Yes. Is there any further discussion or debate on this item? Okay, let me get this up properly. Representative Knight, could I have your advisory vote on Memorandum 2425-13 as amended?
Aye.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2425-13, approval of the board letter of support to WIA with the amendment to add our student representatives if they choose to sign on, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Thank you. That is the conclusion of our new business. We will move on to reports and our financial and enrollment report. Mr. Field.
So what I have reading tonight is just the October financial report. When the meeting's at the first of the month, they get the enrollment in time just didn't work. So in January, we'll have we'll be caught back up with the financials and the enrollment. So we're tracking along like we normally would. You can actually see the lines now because the dots aren't all stacked on top of each other. Revenue's up slightly. This was mainly driven by just our normal apportionment and special ed apportionment. Go ahead and go to the next one. So our MSOX is encumbered at 47%. So we have half that budget locked up. Our payroll with encumbrances is 98.69%. So budget's lining right up with what we expected to spend. So total expenditures with encumbrances is right at 89%. So a little bit of cushion with the fully encumbered financials. So like before I said, our first presentation in September, all the dots are stacked on top of each other. You can see the revenues slightly higher than last year. And again, that's driven by just our regular student apportionment and special ed apportionment. The expenditures are off slightly, and that's because of the timing of our insurance payment. We're paying it a month later than we did last year. So that red line's going to jump up in November significantly. I looked ahead to verify that was the situation. So you'll see that jump up in November. And that's the same reason why our fund balance it's still following the same track, but it's mainly that timing of our insurance payment that's causing that gap compared to last year. So the current year is the green line. And this is the statutory required budget status report. Everything's trending along for the first 2 months, just like we expected. There hasn't been any surprises. Enrollment in November is holding, and in December, it's still where those students that came to us are still hanging around. So everything's looking good into December. This is just the October report, though. Other funds, not a whole lot going on. ASB is spending some funds. We haven't bought any buses, and capital projects is starting to spend. You'll see that pick up in December too, as we got our contracts finalized with Integris and things, and they started getting our initial schematic design billings come through. But everything else is just poking along like we would expect. Nothing out of the ordinary so far through October.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarity on why the difference this month compared to other months. I know in the end it'll all wash out, but I appreciate you giving us the heads up ahead of time. Any comments or questions for Mr. Field? I was just curious how the continued work with the ASB has been going.
I get transfers regularly, so they're really watching their stuff and they're putting that plan into action. I did another 60 lines of $100 plus the $5 per kids just the other day. They're splitting some more purchases with booster clubs, which is becoming effective because we really show the money coming in and coming out. So they're splitting it between the middle and high school for some sports activities. So they're doing good. They're really invested. And I can see that coming through on the page. I haven't met with Elsa and team since the board meeting presentation, just with emails back and forth on clarity of why are we purchasing X or Y and just normal check-in stuff. But we're scheduled to do it again here probably in spring after winter and fall sports to kind of take a look back at how revenue is tracking and what the plan is as we start planning my budget for next year to have a more active role on their portion of the budget for ASB. It's just different because I budget for the entire spend for ASB and they're focusing on their club. So we may have like a parallel. They'll participate, like we're at this side, we're going to do clubs and stuff, but it's very different than what we do for the state level. But we're looking forward to it.
So when South Whidbey starts turning out record numbers of finance majors, we will know that it is Mr. Field.
No.
I just want to thank Mr. Fields for following through on his promise to the students during the interview question I asked, where he said that he would incorporate student voices into his role through ASB and stuff. He has followed through with that, and it's been really nice to see how ASB has been able to manage their budget more efficiently now. So we've gotten a lot of pointers on things that we can consolidate, and it's just been running a lot more smoothly than it has in the past.
I love to see it. I hope that over the next year or so, we can work on some efficiencies to limit input also, not student input, but actual numbers of inputs.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really good. And it's not just me. The team there in the building are doing a lot of work with Ms. Johnson and Mr. Baird, Mr. Sommers, coordinating all of that with the students. And it's not just me. I make it come through on the paper, but they're organizing it and running the thoughts through with the kids. And on occasion, they'll ask me a technical can we or can't we or what do you recommend kind of a thing. But for the most part, it's the teachers and staff in the building working with the students, getting it to where it is. So.
Excellent. Thank you for the update. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to our student board members report. Representative McKnight.
All right. Okay. It's just me today, but I do have some parts that Callahan wrote about the elementary that I will share. So start off with the high school. Winter sports have started. Basketball has been playing in the community center, as we all know, but that has not stopped big turnouts for sports happening. Basketball played Coopville and the boys won, which was a really big hit. National Cookie Day happened, and the National Honor Society went around and gave a cookie to every single student. Quite a lot of students actually got 2 cookies because there's quite an oversupply. Forefront has started doing the suicide prevention training around all the classrooms, and they're hitting up a lot of classrooms, which has been really good. Snowball happened. I heard it was a really fun dance. I personally wasn't there, but I heard about that one. Winterfest is going to be coming up at the end of this week soon, which is a really fun event for high schoolers where they kind of just get the final day off of school. Not off, but they're still there, but they just do fun things. The Winter Music and Motion Choir Concert, it's tomorrow, so turn out. The high school and middle school bands had their joint winter concert where Harshman announced his retirement, sadly. Now moving on to the middle school. The Southwood Middle School completed their annual food drive, bringing over 1,100 items of non-perishable foods. That averages about 4 items per student down there, and they donated them to the Good Cheer Food Bank. They also have the Southwood Middle School Winterfest coming up too, where the ASB leadership has been planning things in a variety of winter-related activities, from dress-up days to bring your own mug days, bring your own mug for a fireside hot cocoa and sip at lunch day, celebration of winter sports with staff versus student games, and assembly celebrating May students with Cougar Pride Awards. And they're also having a dance coming up in February to celebrate the semester's success. They also led successful student conferences with staff hosting up to 18 hours of one-to-one conferences led by students with their families and grown-ups, and it was a really positive experience for students. Now moving on to the elementary school. The Southwood Elementary School had Spirit Week with dress-up days chosen by ASB students, which I'm really glad to see ASB getting involved in the elementary school. Monday was Cozy Winter Day. Tuesday was Sports Day. Wednesday was Wacky Wednesday. Thursday was Orca Pride Day. Friday was all school pajama day. And Friday was that day. Elementary school winter concert was on December, is gonna be tomorrow with the high school choir. Elementary singing club and poetry readings are gonna be presented by students. Second grade students are engaging in their annual lantern walk, carrying the beautiful handmade lanterns through the school, starting with some very special songs from the school as they walk through the halls. High school Falcon Buddies from the leadership came down to the elementary school yesterday, and the students are very excited. This is really fun because this allows the district to really come together and collaborate on things. This is how I got a lot of information from my elementary when I was down there. I interviewed a lot of students when I was doing that. And students are preparing for their annual Martin Luther King service projects. All classes will be engaging in projects, including a tradition of kindergarten students bringing handmade bracelets and songs to the high school seniors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Carter?
Carter, thank you for the really thorough report and for doing the job of 2 people. Do you know any more information about the Forefront suicide prevention? Or maybe if not, then where we could go to find more information?
I have a good bit of information about it, but I know it's run by Miss Bennett in the high school, and they do it during second period, so they hit up every single classroom, and it's student-led actually, which is one of the really big factors of it. So it's students giving presentations to other students, and usually the students are preparing their own presentations and how they're gonna lay it out and stuff. Those are pretty.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Moshe.
Thank you. There are 7 more wake ups until winter break. It's very important count. I was over at the high school today looking at our new gymnasium. The bleachers are being installed and it's really exciting, and the blues all match, which is really cool. And the center court has a beautiful logo that was planned by the middle school, high school folks. And it says Falcons on one end and Cougars on the other. And it just looks really good. So there's new backboards coming in, and it'll be cleaned one final time before the grand reopening. Mark your calendars for January 24th. It's a Friday. It's a double header. So we'll see varsity girls, varsity boys, basketball, as well as JV. But obviously the big ticket is varsity playing. The hallways will be lined with all things levy and bond. So you'll be able to see where we are in the process and what's coming up. And we also expect we may have some dignitaries. So look forward to that. But there's more to follow on that. There'll be flyers out. But I want you to be able to put that on your calendar. In addition, for your calendar is February 19th is a community forum that also is specifically around what's happening with the bonds, the bond and the levy this summer, next summer. What's the plan? It gives people an opportunity to ask their questions about that and provide input on some of the things that are yet to be finalized. So that's what I really have for an update for tonight. Just want to make sure folks know those dates are coming up. The holiday is upon us, the break. We get back in January and it speeds along. So that's all I had.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marcia. Any comments or questions on that? Okay, we'll move on to member reports or comments. I'd like to specifically invite folks to share their thoughts on the WASDA annual conference and anything else that they'd like to share with their fellow board members in the community.
Well, I would like to thank our board and Mr. Greenhair, I think you had a very large role in coordinating our ability to present a breakout session at the conference. I also felt that our students represented the district very well, and I felt that the experience we had to share with as other WASDA participants from our experience of co-creating policy with our colleagues on the staff and in the community was well received, and I think that it filled a niche that other information didn't fill. So I just want to thank my colleagues on the board for their insight into what would be of unique value. It was an honor to participate alongside you in that.
I was just really inspired at the conference by seeing a lot of different approaches to stuff like board governance and learning about the differences in the generations from one of the keynote speakers, just to get a better understanding, at least on average, of what people in different age groups are going through right now, and how we can connect with them and learn from each other. And yeah, I also want to thank Director Downs for doing the bulk of the presenting and planning work for our presentation, which, while not very widely attended, had a very large amount of engagement from those who did attend.
It wasn't not well attended. And Director Greenhair, you did a lot on the prep for it. I would second all of what you have said, and I would also say that I had a blast hanging out with Ms. Shauna. And thank you for coming out and getting to know us a little bit more on board night out, and just really appreciated the opportunity to sit back and have some fun with people we work with, and also with all of you all, and Carter too.
Yeah, +1. Yep, +1 to all those things. And I was able to attend a couple of student-centered workshops around queer and trans youth, and that for me is very near and dear to my heart. And it was very interesting to see the scope of people that were in those rooms. We didn't always agree on everything. There were some folks who were hopefully there to be good learners. And, one of the things I'm always thinking about when I go to conferences is that we are all, in the same step in terms of the work that we do, but how we do that work is so different. And so it was really great to not always be in the echo chamber and be able to sometimes be a little educated and sometimes do some education myself. So I really appreciate that piece of that conference every year.
I was gonna say, it was really nice to see me and Brooke being able to present on the panel and getting the opportunity there. Because believe it or not, it's not obvious to have a student rep on your board in some other school districts, and sometimes in other school districts, when they do, it's not an actual empowered student rep. They don't give them the tools to speak and be successful there or have advisory votes. So it's really awesome to be able to speak about that and engage with school board directors and students looking to either like get student reps for the first time or empower the student reps even more. And it was really nice to be able to like push that into other districts as well.
I want to echo what you said there, Carter, in that throughout the conference, I had folks from other school boards coming up to us to ask how we got such great student reps, yourself in particular, because of your speech. So for those who don't know who are here, Carter and myself were part of a panel to the entire conference of over 1,000 school board members from across the state, school board members and superintendents, talking about how to get effective student voice on boards. And I had a lot of people come up to me afterwards asking how and giving you big compliments on the thoughtfulness of your answers and the way that you had given them some methods to actually implement student representatives in an effective manner. I also heard a lot after our presentation from board members throughout the conference about our workshop format, which finally might be getting some traction among some school board members, maybe not school boards, but school board members, and just how to engage the community in crafting and fine-tuning policy. To the comment that was made here, I do want to note that I spent a good portion of my time at community engagement breakout sessions. I found myself suggesting ways that other districts could get more community engagement and could welcome more community engagement pretty often, but I also was looking for and found some specific points that we can bring back, that I can bring back to try to find more opportunities for effective and earnest communication with the community. So I am very hopeful for that. And I think that it was, as always, a fantastic, energizing experience for me. And I do have Board of Distinction certificates here to pass out that I brought home, and I have not yet gotten student representative ones. I just wrote myself a new note to reach out to WASDC to get those as well. Anything else from the board? Okay. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned. Good night.